Imagine the fragile hope of families on both sides waiting for a breakthrough after years of heartbreak. Today, a ceasefire in Gaza is finally taking hold, promising hostage releases and a path to peace. But will it last? Let's dive into the latest developments that could change everything. Just moments ago, Israel has announced that the ceasefire is now active, kicking off a critical countdown for the release of hostages. This isn't just any pause in fighting. It's the first step in a U.S. brokered deal that's been years in the making, aimed at ending a devastating conflict that's torn lives apart. In a key move, the Israeli Ministry of Justice unveiled a detailed list on Friday of 250 Palestinian prisoners set to be freed as part of this initial phase. To make this clearer for those new to these negotiations, think of it like a carefully choreographed exchange. These releases are timed to happen only after a 72-hour window closes, ensuring that all remaining Israeli hostages, both those still alive and the deceased, are handed over first. That deadline wraps up on Monday afternoon in Israel, building tension as everyone watches the clock. An Israeli official shared with CBS News that Hamas plans to complete the hostage releases by noon local time on Monday, which translates to 5 a.m. Eastern Time. It's a high-stakes moment where trust is everything, and any slip could unravel the whole process. Shifting gears to humanitarian access, and this is the part most people miss that could make or break recovery efforts. The Rafah Crossing, Gaza's vital gateway to Egypt in the south, is slated to reopen on Tuesday. According to Italy's defense ministry, this will happen in close coordination with the White House and European Union officials. Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto explained in a statement that, starting October 14, 2025, under what's being called the Trump Agreement, the crossing will operate bidirectionally, allowing exits toward Egypt and entries back into Gaza on alternating schedules. For beginners, the Rafah Crossing is like the main door for aid and people moving in and out, often closed during conflicts to control flows. Crosetto also noted that the actual operations for swapping Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners will get underway on Sunday. To oversee things impartially, the EU's Border Assistance Mission at Rafah, a neutral civilian group, will be on site, monitoring to ensure everything goes smoothly and fairly. This setup highlights how international partners are stepping in to build confidence on all sides. About half an hour earlier, reports from CBS News on-the-ground team in Gaza painted a picture of cautious optimism. Displaced residents are starting to head back north as Israeli forces partially pull out, honoring the ceasefire terms. Picture families who've been uprooted, now traveling along Al-Rashid Road, the coastal highway that's Gaza's lifeline for movement, returning to homes they haven't seen in months. But the scenes are heartbreaking. Eyewitnesses describe utter devastation in Gaza City, where Israeli ground operations raged until the ceasefire clicked in Friday morning. Neighborhoods and the Al-Shati refugee camp on the west side show widespread destruction, buildings reduced to rubble, infrastructure in ruins. This partial withdrawal is just phase one of a larger plan, but it raises questions. How do you rebuild when the damage is this deep? And here's where it gets controversial. Some argue this return is premature, risking lives in unstable areas, while others see it as a vital sign of normalcy returning. At 8:11 a.m., the International Red Cross stepped in with a strong reminder of humanity amid the politics. President Mirjana Spoljaric emphasized that every handover of hostages and Palestinian prisoners must happen safely and with dignity. Her teams across Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank are poised to assist, facilitating reunions with families and even helping return the remains of the deceased so loved ones can grieve properly. The ceasefire must hold. Lives depend on it, she urged. Adding to this, sources like an Arab diplomat and negotiation insiders told the Times of Israel that Hamas has committed during Egypt talks to skip any public ceremonies during the handovers, unlike past releases that turned into media spectacles. This low-key approach might prevent escalations, but it also sparks debate. Is toning down the publicity a smart de-escalation tactic, or does it diminish the human stories we all need to hear? Earlier at 7:39 a.m., there's news on tackling the unknowns. An international team is being formed in the coming days to search for missing hostages. Gal Hirsch, Israel's hostage and missing persons coordinator in the Prime Minister's office, confirmed this to CBS News on Thursday. Hamas, in a recent statement, agreed to release all Israeli hostages, alive or dead, as long as appropriate field conditions are in place for the swaps. To clarify for those following closely, Israeli estimates suggest only about 20 of the 48 captives still in Gaza are alive, turning this into a race against time and uncertainty. Forming a global team could involve experts in forensics and intelligence, potentially uncovering truths long buried. At 7:28 a.m., U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, a top advisor to President Trump, posted on social media that Israel's initial military pullback from Gaza is done. He cited the U.S. Central Command, confirming the Israeli Defense Forces reached the yellow line, a predefined boundary, by 12 p.m. local time. This marks the start of the 72-hour countdown for Hamas to release all remaining hostages. Witkoff's update underscores the U.S. role in verifying these steps, adding a layer of international oversight that could bolster the deal's credibility. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation at 7:08 a.m., vowing that Hamas must disarm and Gaza be fully demilitarized under the approved peace plan. "We're closing in on Hamas from every angle," he declared to reporters, insisting this outcome will happen, peacefully if possible, forcefully if not. Defending his war leadership, Netanyahu pointed to over 67,000 Palestinian deaths reported by Gaza's health authorities, a staggering toll that fuels global outcry. He stressed that Hamas only budged on full hostage release when Israel had the upper hand deep in Gaza territory, and that pressure remains. Boldly put, Netanyahu's stance is unapologetic, victory through strength. But this is where differing opinions ignite. Is demilitarization a realistic goal for lasting peace, or does it overlook Gaza's complex history of resistance and blockade? On the aid front, at 6:51 a.m., an Israeli security source informed CBS News that 600 trucks loaded with essentials are ready to roll into Gaza soon. These will come from UN agencies, international orgs, private donors, and countries pitching in, carrying food, medical supplies, shelter materials, fuel for critical systems, and cooking gas. For context, aid like this is life-saving in a place where shortages have caused immense suffering. It's not just trucks. It's hope in tangible form. Residents can also exit via Rafah with Egyptian coordination, Israeli security checks, and EU supervision. However, UN spokespeople noted Friday that aid flows haven't ramped up yet. UNRWA confirmed no early increases, highlighting potential bottlenecks that could test the ceasefire's promises. Tensions lingered into the morning at 6:41 a.m., with thick smoke and blasts reported over Gaza. CBS News correspondent Deborah Pata observed Israeli strikes continuing until the very last minutes before the official ceasefire at noon local time, 5 a.m. Eastern. Though approved late Thursday, explosions echoed for hours after, a stark reminder of how wars don't switch off cleanly. An IDF spokesperson warned Gaza residents in Arabic to steer clear of troops in designated zones, stressing the dangers. This overlap of violence and peace talks begs the question, how do you transition without more loss? Echoing earlier reports at 6:40 a.m., an Israeli official reiterated to CBS News that Hamas will free all outstanding hostages by Monday noon local, 5 a.m. Eastern. President Trump echoed this Thursday, predicting releases Monday or Tuesday, including bodies of the deceased. With 48 captives believed held, 20 alive, this phase is pivotal. Finally, at 6:40 a.m., the Israeli military confirmed the ceasefire's activation at noon local time, with troops repositioning for the deal and hostage returns under Trump's 20-point plan to end the two-year war. Netanyahu's office told BBC that Phase 1 leaves Israel controlling 53% of Gaza. Trump had previewed this troop withdrawal to an agreed line on Truth Social Wednesday. As these updates unfold, one can't help but wonder, can this ceasefire bridge the deep divides, or will old grievances pull it apart? What do you think? Does demilitarization offer true security, or is it a non-starter? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss how we move toward lasting peace.